Your formula's broken, Zora Tate, a black waitress, states, her voice steady in the BBQ restaurant's chaos. Amid clattering plates and smoky air, she spots a billionaire's math mistake on a menu scrap, a multi-million-dollar misstep. A nobody in a stained apron, Zora bears her father's hospital debts, her economics knowledge buried under survival. But her defiance ignites when she calls out the error, catching the tycoon's attention. Her next move, a bold thrust into his ruthless empire, shocks the elite, turning whispers to gasps. From serving tables to unraveling betrayal, Zora redefines power. Will her spark burn bright or flame out in this dangerous game? What choice would you make to seize your moment? Hit like, share, and subscribe for more tales of daring that shake the status quo. Zora Tate weaved through the BBQ restaurant's chaos, her red apron stained with sauce, hair braided tight, silver bracelet glinting under fluorescent lights. The air hummed with sizzling meat and blues guitar riffs, plates clattering as she balanced a tray of ribs and cornbread. At 27, she was a ghost in the crowd, seen but unseen, her mind sharp from half-finished economics classes, dulled by endless shifts to pay her father Amos's lung cancer bills. Debt notices burned a hole in her pocket, each one a ticking clock. "Move faster, sweetheart," a white customer barked, snapping his fingers. Zora forced a smile, swallowing the sting. She dropped his plate, turned, and caught sight of a man who didn't belong. Silas Vorne, white mid-50s, sat in a corner booth, his tailored suit screaming wealth. His gray eyes scanned a sheet of menu paper scrawled with numbers, a deal big enough to choke on. Across from him, a fidgety assistant typed on a tablet, but Silas waved him off. "Leave. Now." The assistant scurried out. Zora refilled Silas's coffee, her eyes flicking to the paper. Numbers danced, mid-cap acquisition, revenue 6.3, debt ratio misapplied. The enterprise value was off by $200 million. Her stomach twisted. She wasn't supposed to see this. She was nobody, a waitress drowning in hospital bills, her father's cough echoing in her mind. But the math was wrong, screamingly wrong, and she knew it like she knew the burn of grease on her skin. She set the coffee down, hand steady. "Sir, your calculations are off." Her voice cut through the diner's din, low but clear. Silas's pen froze. He looked up, eyes like steel traps. "What did you say?" Zora's heart slammed against her ribs. She touched the silver bracelet on her wrist, grounding herself. "Your debt ratio. You're inflating it by 20%. It's skewing the valuation. The target's worth more. Hundreds of millions more." Silas leaned back, studying her like a puzzle. The restaurant noise faded. Clinks, chatter, all gone. "You're telling me I'm wrong?" His tone was a blade, not angry, but testing. "Yes." Zora pointed to the paper. "You're dividing the debt by 0.8, treating it as a risk-adjusted liability. It's a straight subtraction from equity value. You're undervaluing the deal by 200 million, maybe more." He didn't blink. "And you know this how?" "I studied economics before." She stopped. No need to mention Amos, the hospital, the red envelopes. "I know numbers." Silas's gaze didn't waver. He tapped the paper, then slid it toward her. "Show me." Zora hesitated. One wrong move, and she'd be fired, back to scraping tips for pills. But she saw the debt notices in her mind, the weight of them. She grabbed a pen from her apron, leaned over, and scribbled. "Here. Debt's 1.2 billion. Subtract it directly from the enterprise value after applying the revenue multiplier. Not this." She crossed out his formula, writing hers. The numbers aligned, clean and true. Silas stared at the paper, then at her. A long, heavy silence stretched. "What's your name?" "Zora Tate." He stood towering, a man who owned skylines. "Zora Tate, get your things. You're coming with me." Her breath caught. "Sir, I have a shift." "You're done here." He pulled a $100 bill from his wallet, tossed it on the table, and nodded toward the door. "Now." Zora's mind raced. She could say no, stay safe, stay invisible. But safe hadn't paid the bills. Safe hadn't saved Amos. She untied her apron, hands shaking, and dropped it on the counter. The other waitresses stared, customers whispered, but she didn't look back. She grabbed her jacket, the silver bracelet catching the light, and followed Silas out. A black SUV idled at the curb, its engine a low growl. Silas held the door open. Zora slid onto leather seats, the scent of polish replacing grease. The door shut with a thud, final as a vault. Silas sat beside her, silent, his phone buzzing but ignored. The driver pulled into traffic, the restaurant shrinking in the rear view. Zora's hands clasped tight, nails digging into palms. She was in a stranger's car, a billionaire's world, her cheap sneakers absurd against the polished floor. "Where are we going?" she asked, voice steady despite the churn in her gut. "My office," Silas said, eyes on the window. "You just saw something no one else did. I need to know what else you see." She swallowed, the weight of his words sinking in. This wasn't about coffee or tips anymore. This was a door she'd opened, and there was no closing it now. Zora Tate stepped out of the SUV, her cheap suit dwarfed by the glass tower looming above. The lobby's marble gleamed, air sharp with polish and power. She followed Silas Vorne through a private elevator, his fingerprint unlocking a silent ascent. Her sneakers squeaked faintly, absurd against his polished shoes. The doors opened to a penthouse office, walls of windows framing a city she'd only known from street level. Silas gestured to a chair opposite his stone desk. "Sit." His voice was clipped, all business. Zora sat, her silver bracelet catching the light. Imogen Quill, his assistant, glided in, white, late 40s, her blonde hair pinned perfectly, smile polished, but eyes like knives. "Coffee, Mr. Vorne?" she asked, barely glancing at Zora. "Black, for both." Silas didn't look up, already scanning a tablet. Imogen's smile tightened. "Of course!" She left, heels clicking. Zora felt the weight of her stare, a warning wrapped in courtesy. Silas leaned forward, gray eyes pinning Zora. "That mistake on the menu wasn't mine. I let it sit, waiting for someone to slip. You did, but not how I expected. You saw it, fixed it. Why?" Zora's throat tightened. "It was wrong. I couldn't unsee it." He didn't blink. "Most would. Most do." He tapped the tablet. "Someone's feeding my numbers to Cassian Holt, my competitor. Every deal, every bid, he's one step ahead. I need to know who." Zora's pulse quickened. "You think it's someone close?" "I know it is." Silas's voice was steel. "You're an outsider. No ties, no loyalties. Find the snake. Start now." She nodded, mind racing. This wasn't her world. Suits, secrets, billions. But she'd watched people her whole life, read their lies in late-night tips and fake smiles. She could do this. She had to. Imogen returned, setting coffee cups down, her gaze flicking over Zora's suit. "Anything else, Mr. Vorne?" "Get her access. Full system. Now." Silas waved her out. Imogen's lips twitched, but she nodded. "Right away." She left, the door closing softly. Zora sipped the coffee, bitter and strong. "Why me? You don't know me." Silas's eyes narrowed. "I know you're drowning in debt. Hospital bills for your father, Amos. I checked." Zora stiffened, but he raised a hand. "I don't care about your past. I care about your eyes. You see what others miss. Don't prove me wrong." She swallowed, the mention of Amos like a punch. "I won't." He slid a tablet across the desk. "Start with the acquisition files. Look for patterns. Who's touching, what they shouldn't." Zora opened the tablet, data flooding the screen. Revenue projections, debt logs, access records. Her fingers moved, instincts from college kicking in. She scanned logs, names, and timestamps. Imogen's name appeared again and again, accessing files marked confidential. An assistant shouldn't need that. Zora's stomach twisted, but she kept her face neutral. "Something?" Silas asked, watching her. "Maybe," why she didn't look up. "Give me time." He grunted, standing. "You have a week. Don't waste it." Zora left his office, tablet clutched tight, and directed to a glass-walled cubicle. The floor buzzed with staff, all white, their glances sharp. Curiosity, disdain, a mix. She sat, ignoring them, diving into the data. Imogen's access logs were a red flag, but too obvious. A snake wouldn't be so sloppy, or would they? A knock broke her focus. Imogen stood at the door holding a keycard. "Your access," she said, voice smooth as silk. "Mr. Vorne moves fast, doesn't he? Picking you out of nowhere." Zora took the card, meeting her eyes. "He sees what matters." Imogen's smile didn't falter, but her gaze hardened. "Be careful, Zora. This place eats the unprepared." She turned, heels clicking away. Zora leaned back, heart pounding. Imogen wasn't just an assistant. She was a player, and Zora was on her board. She opened the tablet again, cross-referencing Imogen's logins with email traffic. One thread caught her eye. A file sent to an external address, buried in routine reports. The address was encrypted and untraceable for now. She tapped her bracelet, grounding herself. This wasn't about coffee stains or tips anymore. It was a hunt, and she was the hunter. But the prey was watching, and Zora knew one misstep could end her. Zora Tate hunched over the tablet in her glass cubicle. The hum of the office, a distant buzz. Her fingers flew across the screen, chasing Imogen Quill's digital footprints. The encrypted email address she'd found yesterday gnawed at her. Too clean, too hidden for an assistant's routine work. She cross-checked it against server logs, her old economics training sharpening her focus. The air felt heavy, charged with the stares of white staff passing by, their whispers barely masked. Imogen glided past, pausing at the cubicle's edge. "Settling in, Zora." Her voice was honey, but her eyes were cold, assessing. Zora met her gaze, keeping her tone even. "Getting there. Lots to learn." "Indeed." Imogen's smile tightened. "Don't hesitate to ask for help. I know this world can be overwhelming." She lingered a beat, then walked away, heels clicking like a metronome. Zora exhaled, pulse quickening. Imogen wasn't just watching, she was circling. Zora refocused, digging deeper into the logs. Imogen had accessed the acquisition files 5 times in 3 days, each time downloading a valuation report. Why? Assistants handled schedules, not numbers. She flagged the activity, then noticed a pattern. Every download synced with an email to the encrypted address, sent minutes later. She leaned back, mind racing. It was bold, almost reckless. A test, maybe? Or arrogance? She needed more. Zora opened the company's vendor records, scanning for anything tied to Cassian Holt, Silas's rival. A catering service popped up. Frequent orders for executive meetings, always placed by Imogen. The vendor's parent company was a subsidiary of Holt Industries. Her stomach twisted. Too neat to be a coincidence. She typed a quick script to trace the email address, but the system locked her out. A pop-up flashed, "Access restricted." Zora frowned. Only someone with admin rights could block her, someone like Imogen. She glanced up, catching Imogen at her desk, typing furiously, her face unreadable. Zora stood, needing air. She walked to the break room, ignoring the sidelong glances from staff. A coffee machine hissed in the corner. She poured a cup, the bitter scent grounding her. A male employee, white, mid-30s, leaned against the counter. "You're Vorne's new pet project, huh?" His tone was casual, but his eyes were sharp. "I'm just doing my job," Zora said, sipping her coffee. He smirked. "Sure, but this place chews up outsiders. Watch your back." Zora held his gaze. "I always do." She left, coffee untouched, the warning echoing. Back at her desk, she pulled up the catering orders again. One stood out, a delivery scheduled for a closed-door meeting last week. The same day a rival bid from Holt undercut Silas's offer, Imogen had signed the invoice. She needed to test her hunch. Zora drafted an email to Imogen, posing as a confused newbie. "Hi, Imogen. I'm cross-checking vendor logs for Mr. Vorne. Can you clarify the catering order from last Tuesday? The invoice looks off." She hit send, heart pounding. Minutes later, Imogen replied, "No issues with the invoice. I'll resend it. Focus on your assigned tasks." The response was curt, but a new email followed, forwarding the invoice. Zora opened it, scanning the metadata. Buried in the file was a timestamp linking it to the encrypted email address. Sloppy or intentional? Zora's bracelet glinted as she saved the evidence. She was close, but not close enough. She needed something concrete, something Silas couldn't ignore. She opened a new tab, searching the company's internal chat logs. Imogen's messages were professional, bland. But one thread, buried in an archived folder, caught her eye. A brief exchange with an unknown user, mentioning Holt's terms. The user's ID was deleted. She froze. Someone was covering tracks. Zora copied the thread, then stood, slipping the tablet into her bag. She needed to move fast. Imogen's desk was empty, her first absence all morning. Zora walked past, casually glancing at the monitor. It was locked, but a sticky note peeked from under the keyboard, scribbled with a single word, C. Zora's mind clicked. Cassian. She returned to her cubicle, adrenaline spiking. Imogen wasn't just leaking data, she was orchestrating. But why leave a trail? Confidence or a trap? Zora didn't know yet, but she'd find out. She opened the tablet, drafting a note to Silas, but hesitated. Too soon. She needed proof that wouldn't burn her. The office clock ticked. 4 days left in Silas's deadline. Zora leaned forward, eyes locked on the screen. She wasn't a waitress anymore. She was a hunter, and the snake was closer than she'd thought. Zora Tate sat rigid in her glass cubicle, the tablet's glow casting shadows on her face. The sticky note with C burned in her mind. Cassian Holt, no doubt. Imogen Quill's absence from her desk was a rare window, and Zora's instincts screamed to act. Her silver bracelet glinted as she scanned the office. Staff typed, phones rang, but Imogen's empty chair was a ticking clock. She stood smoothing her suit and walked toward Imogen's desk, feigning a casual stroll. Her heart hammered. If caught, she'd be out. Jobless, back to scraping for Amos's hospital bills. She glanced at the break room door, where Imogen had vanished minutes ago. Zora had maybe 5 minutes. She knocked over a coffee mug on the nearby table, letting it clatter. Oh, damn, she muttered loudly, crouching to wipe the spill, ensuring eyes turned away. Under the desk, she spotted a sleek black purse tucked in a corner. Her breath hitched. She reached in, fingers brushing a burner phone. Cheap, no lock. Zora powered it on, the screen lighting up with a single contact. C. The latest message sent an hour ago read, "She's digging, neutralize her." The reply, "Handle it, now." Zora's stomach lurched. She snapped photos of the text with her phone, hands trembling. Another message mentioned the acquisition deal, confirming Imogen was feeding Cassie and Silas's numbers. She shoved the burner back, pulse racing, and stood just as Imogen's heels clicked closer. Clumsy today, Zora. Imogen's voice was smooth, her smile a mask as she returned, holding a fresh coffee. Zora straightened, forcing a grin. Just a spill, all good now. Her phone with the photos felt heavy in her pocket. Imogen's eyes narrowed, lingering. You're adjusting fast. Too fast, maybe. She sat, her gaze flicking to the purse, then back to Zora. Don't overstep. This place rewards caution. I'm learning, Zora said, voice steady despite the churn in her gut. She walked back to her cubicle, feeling Imogen's stare like a blade. The photos were gold, but using them too soon could backfire. Imogen was no fool. She'd suspect tampering. Zora needed Silas to see this, but not through a risky email. Not yet. Back at her desk, she opened the tablet, pretending to work. The office buzzed, but the air felt thicker, charged with threat. Zora's mind replayed the text. Neutralize her. Imogen wasn't just leaking. She was dangerous. Zora checked the vendor logs again, focusing on the catering orders tied to Holt Industries. A new invoice popped up, signed by Imogen for a meeting tomorrow. Another chance to pass data? She leaned back, bracelet catching the light. She couldn't confront Imogen directly, too much risk. Instead, she drafted a vague email to Silas. Found irregularities in vendor logs. Need to discuss privately. She hit send, hoping he'd bite. Minutes passed, no reply. The office clock mocked her. 3 days left in Silas's deadline. A shadow fell over her desk. Imogen stood there, uninvited, holding a file. You requested this, she said, voice clipped, tossing it down. It was the catering invoice Zora had questioned yesterday, but the metadata was wiped clean. Imogen's eyes locked with hers. Stop chasing ghosts, Zora. It's not your place. Zora held her gaze. Just doing my job. Imogen's smile was ice. Jobs change. People disappear. She turned, leaving Zora's skin prickling. Zora opened the file, finding nothing but standard numbers. A decoy. Imogen was covering tracks and fast. Zora's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Back off. Her breath caught. She deleted it, fingers cold. Imogen or Cassian? Didn't matter. They knew she was close. She stood, needing to move. The break room was empty, coffee machine hissing. She poured a cup, staring at the steam. The photos were her weapon, but timing was everything. Silas needed to see Imogen's betrayal in action, not just screenshots. Zora slipped back to her cubicle, mind racing. Tomorrow's meeting was her shot. If Imogen passed data, Zora could catch her, maybe even trace Cassian's response. She opened the tablet, pulling up the meeting schedule. Silas would be there, unaware of the leak. Zora's fingers hovered over the keyboard. She could warn him now, but without proof in motion, Imogen might slip free. No, she'd set a trap, using Imogen's own game. Zora leaned forward, eyes locked on the screen. The hunter was hunted, but she wasn't prey. Not yet. Zora Tate gripped her tablet, the glow reflecting in her eyes as she finalized her plan. The office hummed with morning activity, staff typing, phones buzzing, but her focus was razor sharp. The photos of Imogen Quill's burner phone text burned in her pocket, proof of betrayal, but she needed more. Imogen caught in the act. Today's executive meeting, tied to the catering order from Cassian Holt's subsidiary, was her chance. She'd sent Silas Vorne a cryptic email last night, proposing a trap, fake a crisis to bait Imogen. Her silver bracelet glinted as she waited for his signal. Her desk phone buzzed, red light flashing. Silas's voice crackled through. Zora, coffee, black, my office. His tone was flat, but it was the sign she'd asked for. She stood, smoothing her suit, and poured a cup, hands steady despite her racing pulse. Imogen glanced up from her desk, eyes narrowing. Running errands already? Her voice dripped with mock sweetness. Just helping out, Zora replied, meeting her gaze. Imogen's smile was a blade, but Zora walked past, coffee in hand, into Silas's office. The door clicked shut. Silas sat at his stone desk, gray eyes locked on her. Your email was bold. Talk. Zora set the coffee down. Imogen's leaking to Cassian Holt. I found texts on a burner phone, linking her to him. She's using catering orders to pass data. Today's meeting is her next move. We can catch her if you play along. He leaned back, face unreadable. You're accusing my assistant of 20 years. Proof? Zora slid her phone across, showing the texts. Silas scanned them, jaw tightening. This is thin, circumstantial. It's real, Zora pressed. Announce you're selling the acquisition at a loss. Fake it. She'll tip Cassian, thinking it's a win. He'll act, and we'll have her. Silas tapped the desk, silent for a beat. If you're wrong, you're done. I'm not. Her voice was steel, though her gut churned. He nodded. Do it, but you're in the room when it happens. Zora left, adrenaline spiking. Back at her cubicle, she watched Imogen type, oblivious to the net closing. An hour later, Silas called Imogen in. Zora followed, tablet clutched, slipping into the meeting room as Silas began his act. Imogen, the acquisition's a disaster, he said, pacing, voice strained. We're hemorrhaging cash. I'm selling 50 cents on the dollar. Draft the memo. No one else knows. Imogen's eyes widened, then smoothed. Of course, sir, I'll handle it. Her tone was calm, but Zora caught the flicker of triumph. Imogen left, clutching her phone. Zora's heart pounded. She whispered to Silas. She's texting now. Check the server. Silas opened his laptop, accessing a hidden tracker Zora had suggested. A new message from Imogen's burner to C appeared. He's selling. Cheap. Move now. Seconds later, a stock alert pinged. Holt Industries was shorting Silas's company, betting millions on a crash. Got her, Silas growled, eyes blazing. Stay here. He stormed out, Zora trailing. In the hall, Imogen sat at her desk, typing, unaware. Silas loomed over her. Imogen, my office. Now. Her smile faltered. Sir? Now, his voice was thunder. Imogen stood, face paling, and followed. Zora entered behind, door slamming shut. Silas threw the burner phone text on the desk, printed from Zora's photos. Explain this. Imogen's composure cracked. I don't know what... Don't lie, Silas roared. You've been feeding Cassian my moves, every deal, every number. Why? Imogen's eyes darted to Zora, venomous. You little... Answer me, Silas cut in. She crumpled, voice shaking. Cassian's my cousin. You destroyed our family, buying our company, leaving us nothing. I stayed, watched, waited. Every leak was for him. Silas's face darkened. 20 years, and you betray me for revenge? You deserved it, Imogen spat, then froze, realizing her admission. Zora stepped forward, voice steady. You used catering orders to pass data. Today was the last one. Imogen's gaze snapped to her, raw with hate. You're nothing, a waitress. I'm the one who caught you, Zora said, unflinching. Silas pressed a button. Security, in here. 2 guards entered, grabbing Imogen. She struggled, spitting curses as they dragged her out. The office fell silent, staff staring through the glass. Silas turned to Zora, eyes hard but impressed. You were right. Stay close. This isn't over. Zora nodded, bracelet catching the light. She'd won, but the weight of Imogen's hate lingered. Cassian was still out there, and she'd just painted a target on her back. Zora Tate stood in Silas Vorne's office, the echo of Imogen Quill's curses fading as security dragged her away. The glass walls framed a silent staff, their stares heavy with shock. Zora's silver bracelet gleamed under the lights, grounding her as her pulse raced. Silas sat at his stone desk, face carved from granite, the burner phone text still scattered before him. The air crackled with the weight of betrayal exposed. You played a dangerous game, Silas said, voice low, eyes locked on Zora. And you won, but we're not done. Zora nodded, her throat tight. Imogen's final glare burned in her mind, venomous, personal. She admitted everything, Zora said. Cassian Holt was her cousin. She leaked for revenge. Silas leaned back, fingers steepled. 20 years she sat outside my door, planned my life, and bled me dry. He stood, pacing to the window. How did you know? Zora clutched her tablet, the weight of her choice settling in. Patterns, her access logs, the catering orders tied to Holt's company, and the burner phone. She was too confident, leaving cracks. He turned, gray eyes piercing. Cracks most miss, not you. He gestured to the text. This ends Cassian. His short bet today cost him billions. He's finished. Zora's chest tightened. But Imogen, she wasn't just a pawn. She hated you, hated me. Silas's jaw clenched. She's gone. Federal agents are waiting downstairs. Corporate espionage isn't a small crime. A knock interrupted. A security guard poked his head in. Sir, Quill's demanding to see you. Says she has something to say. Silas's eyes flicked to Zora. You stay. He nodded to the guard. Bring her. Zora's stomach twisted. She hadn't expected this. Imogen re-entered, wrist cuffed, face pale but defiant. Her blonde hair was loose now, eyes blazing as they landed on Zora. You think you've won? She spat. Silas stepped forward, voice ice. Speak, last chance. Imogen's lips curled. You're blind, Silas. You always were. I didn't just leak for Cassian. I did it because you ruined us. Your takeover killed my uncle, our family's heart. I stayed, smiled, and fed you to him piece by piece. Silas didn't flinch. Your uncle's company was failing. I saved what I could. Liar, Imogen's voice cracked, raw with pain. You saved nothing but your ego. She turned to Zora, eyes venomous. And you, parading in here, thinking you belong. You're a tool. He'll discard you like he did me. Zora's fist clenched, bracelet biting into her wrist. I'm not you. I don't hide. I find the truth. Imogen laughed bitterly. Truth? You're a waitress in a suit. This world will chew you up. Enough, Silas growled. He nodded to the guard. Take her. Imogen lunged, voice rising. You'll fall, Silas. And you, she pointed at Zora. You'll regret this. The guard yanked her back, dragging her out. Her shouts faded down the hall. Zora stood frozen, Imogen's words clawing at her. She'd won, but the cost felt heavy. Hate, exposure, a target on her back. Silas turned, face unreadable. She's wrong. You're not a tool. You're a weapon. Zora met his gaze, voice steady. I didn't do this to be a weapon. I did it to fix what was broken. He studied her, a faint nod. Good, because there's more to fix. Cassian's down, but his allies aren't. I need you on this. She swallowed, the weight of Amos's hospital bills flashing in her mind. What's the job? Special consultant. Direct to me. Find the next leak, the next snake. Starting salary, $300,000. Plus a bonus to clear your father's debts. Zora's breath caught. It was real. Freedom from the red envelopes, from the grind. But Imogen's warning echoed. This world will chew you up. She pushed it down. I'm in. Silas extended a hand. Then we start now. Zora shook it, his grip firm, sealing her new life. He pressed an intercom. HR, my office, new hire. He looked at Zora. Get settled. Tomorrow you're in the deep end. Zora left, tablet in hand, stepping into the buzzing office. Staff stared, whispers trailing her. She wasn't invisible anymore. She was the woman who'd toppled Imogen Quill. Her cubicle felt too small now, a relic of yesterday. She sat, opening the tablet, already pulling new data. Cassian's loss was public, his stock tanking, but Silas was right. Someone else was out there, waiting. Zora leaned forward, eyes locked on the screen. She'd survived the first hunt. The next one was coming, and she'd be ready. Zora Tate strode through the glass tower's lobby, her tailored suit sharp, silver bracelet glinting under the lights. 6 months had passed since Imogen Quill's fall, and the office no longer whispered when she passed. Staff nodded, calling her Ms. Tate, their eyes a mix of respect and caution. She stepped into the private elevator, the hum of ascent marking her new world, a far cry from the BBQ restaurant's grease and noise. In her office, a sleek space outside Silas Vorne's, she sat at a desk framed by a city view. A small frame held the menu paper with Silas's flawed math, a reminder of her gamble. Her tablet pinged, market data streaming in. Cassian Holt's company was bankrupt, his empire dust after the short bet Zora had exposed. But Silas's warning lingered. New enemies were circling. Silas entered without knocking, holding a report. Numbers from the new retail deal, too clean. Thoughts? His gray eyes were sharp, testing. Zora scanned the report, fingers flying over her tablet. They're hiding losses. Look, asset values inflated here. She pointed to a line. They're double-counting leases to mask debt. It's a shell game. Silas grunted, impressed. How'd you catch that? People lie. Numbers don't. Zora met his gaze. Learn that serving ribs. He chuckled, a rare sound. You're wasted on coffee runs. He tossed the report on her desk. Dig deeper. I want proof by tomorrow. She nodded, already pulling data. Her phone buzzed. A hospital update. Amos's treatment was fully funded. Debts erased by Silas's bonus. Relief hit, but she pushed it aside. No time for soft moments. Not here. A staffer knocked, young, white, nervous. Ms. Tate, the board's asking for your analysis on the retail deal. They're pushy. Zora raised an eyebrow. Tell them it's coming, and don't let them bully you. The staffer scurried off, and Zora leaned back, sensing the shift. The board, once dismissive, now needed her. Imogen's betrayal had reshaped the company, and Zora was its new linchpin. She opened a new file, cross-referencing the retail deal's partners. One name stood out, a holding company linked to a former Holt ally. Her pulse quickened. Silas was right. Cassian's fall hadn't ended the threat. Someone was still playing his game, subtler, smarter. She flagged the name, setting a trace. The office clock ticked. Zora stood, stretching, and walked to the window. The city sprawled below, a chessboard of power. She'd been invisible once, a waitress dodging insults, scraping for tips. Now she moved pieces, her mind sharper than any suit in the room. But Imogen's last words haunted her. This world will chew you up. Zora clenched her fist, bracelet biting her wrist. Let it try. Silas returned, holding a tablet. Found anything? Trouble, Zora said, showing the flag company. It's a front, tied to Holt's old network. They're testing us. His eyes narrowed. Can you prove it? By morning, she said, voice steel. They're not as clever as they think. Silas nodded, a faint smile tugging his lips. You've changed the game, Tate. Keep it that way. He left and Zora dove back in, data scrolling fast. The holding company's transactions were clean on the surface, but she spotted a discrepancy. Offshore transfers, buried in fine print. She cross-checked with market reports, confirming her hunch. The ally was funneling funds, betting against Silas's next move. She drafted a memo, sharp and precise, for Silas. The board would see it too, cementing her place. As she hit send, the weight of her journey settled. Grease-stained aprons to this, a desk with a view, a voice that mattered. But the game never stopped. New players, new traps. Zora leaned forward, eyes locked on the screen. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was rewriting the rules, and no one, not Cassian's ghosts, not the board, would outplay her. What did you think of Zora Tate's journey from waitress to powerhouse? Her courage changed everything. Could one bold moment reshape your life? Share your thoughts below. Thank you for joining us in this gripping tale of betrayal and triumph. Stay tuned for more stories that spark your imagination. See you next time.